Okay, my friends, I have some, I think, very, very good news. I'm hoping it'll work out good. Fecal matter transplants have been approved by the FDA. They're gearing up for large-scale production of these pills. And in high doses, they're very, very effective, like 94% effective at treating, like, I forget what it is, C. difficile, but they're using them now. Right here. Treatment with a high dose after initial non-response yielded an aggregate clinical rate of 94%. There were no adverse events reported. And these are people that are desperately ill. And these are MIT trained researchers, fecal transplants, a nonprofit stool bank. It appears they're working with MIT. And not only is this beneficial for C. difficile, my research, and this is only research, I never tell you to do anything or don't do anything. All I can try to do is disseminate the information. The information is, this is Open Biome. They produce a product that they sell, and I'm sure it's expensive, but it is feces. And the feces contain the bacteria that regulate how you absorb and how you react to things that are attacking you. I am going to show you in extreme detail. We're going to go through all the different diseases this may have an impact on, because they've been doing clinical trials, but just on the margins, because it's not an accepted, they just now approved it a couple of months ago, these pills. And I don't know why it's taken so long, but once it's approved as an FDA-approved treatment for whatever it is, a doctor can off-label it and say, we're going to use it for something else because it makes sense. The research indicates autism may be affected, Alzheimer's may be affected, cancer may be affected. All the diseases, all your chronic conditions are based on chemistry. And I'm going to show you why I say the research points to the fact that this may have benefit. Now, it's up to you to decide. But up until now, it's been a problem that nobody would prescribe it because it wasn't an approved product. You couldn't prescribe it, you'd lose your license. But now, as they're doing with Ozempic, is off-label. It's supposed to be for diabetes. They're giving it to people to lose weight. And it's perfectly, you can't do anything about that. That's perfectly allowed. As I will show you, it's allowed by the FDA as long as it makes sense. Do people want to lose weight? Here's the pills to make you lose weight. If the research shows that these fecal matter pills will help autism, here's the pills, see if it helps. There's no real side effects from these things to speak of. You have a little indigestion for a couple of days, and that's about it as far as I can determine. It's safe for even the most seriously ill, and that's how they come back from being seriously ill, basically. Yeah, we're going to go through this. But let me try to bring you up to speed, and I'm going to show you the chemistry, I'm going to show you the bacteria, I'm going to show you the responses from your immune system, all of that stuff. And we're going to probably start off autism, because that's one of the major problems we're having right now, is that the kids don't have the bacteria in their body to create the chemistry, to create the insulation around their nerves or the synapse. I'm not sure exactly where the issue resides, but I believe it's obviously in the nerve system somewhere, in the fibers, in the ganglia, wherever it is. There's something there that's breaking through those membranes, and they're just not able to control their nerve impulses. And there's a lot more to this. I've been working with people with autism now for 4 years or so, and they all have the same problem. They all have gastrointestinal issues, and that means that they're not digesting correctly. So let's just get into this and see what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. Again, research only, but until we discuss the research, we're never going to get anywhere. Research is discussion, it's examination, it's investigation, it's curiosity. It's discussion. So let's discuss. Okay, my friends, this is going to be very important for you to pay attention to this, especially if you have kids or you have a condition or you're elderly or your immune system is compromised. We're going to be talking about one of the major illnesses in the United States. It's C. difficile. I think over 500,000 people in the United States every year get this C. difficile, which is a gut overgrowth of bacteria that you can't get rid of because you don't have the good bacteria in your gut to fight that bad bacteria. So here's the story with C. difficile. Most cases develop after taking antibiotics. And the reason is the antibiotics kill your good gut bacteria, so you don't have the fighters. Those are your good gut bacteria breaks down food and kills the ones that want to invade you. It's supposed to be there. The bad stuff is always there because it takes care of other things. It actually eats dead cells and things like that. But once you lose your ability to control that stuff, it attacks you and breaks through your cell linings, and then you get cancer and all kind of other diseases. Now, and C. difficile is another one where your gut is just destroyed. Now, so what is recent hospitalizations? That's where you're going to get it, C. difficile, because they're giving you antibiotics usually. A weakened immune system. What does that mean? You don't have the probacteria living inside your body already, so you're already weak because you can't defend off these things. So you already don't have the right bacteria. So you should be, that indicates a fecal matter transplant. Recent hospitalizations, I don't see any reason you shouldn't try to protect yourself after that. Previous C. diff infections or known exposure to C. diff, these things are just pills, and they're just fecal transplants, fecal matter. It's not, I don't think, I know it's going to be expensive, but I don't see why. But anyway, and if you're over 65, why over 65? Because your bacteria is weak. As you age, your bacteria ages. It's part of your gut. All right, you didn't go get a whole bunch of new bacteria, but now you can with these fecal matter transplants. So you can basically, it looks to me like you can start a good, nice, clean, new digestive system with these, because they give you 4 or 5 different donors all at the same time. So you're getting a whole lot of species of bacteria, and that's what you need. All right, so this is, if you had C. diff once, you're at a high risk for contracting again because you don't have the bacteria. It doesn't matter. They give you antibiotics to kill it and whatever, but you still don't have the bacteria to protect yourself. Okay, my friends, this is from the National Institute of Health again, Library of Medicine. This is fecal microbiota transplant in autism spectrum, and it's a spectrum. There's just all kinds of different things. Now it's going to go down through here, all kinds of things, but it goes on the gut. They're talking about the gut and all of these different bacteria that should be in the gut. If they're not there, the kid's not going to do well, and then they supplement it. So here's the conclusion. Well, first of all, in general, FMT appears safe both in short and long term. So it's not a problem. Now, what is the conclusion? The microbiota gut-brain axis. They always talk about the gut in relation to the brain. They work together. Yes. It plays an important role in the gastrointestinal system and neurodevelopmental dysfunctions in autism patients. FMT, fecal matter transplants, can alter the gut microbiome and improve the gastrointestinal as well as neurobehavioral symptoms in autism spectrum patients. It's a promising new strategy. However, we got to do more studies. Well, it's been approved now for a certain treatment, and again, off-label. If you have an autism kid, that's got to be terrible situation to know that this may help and not be able to get it. Because it says right here, in addition to neurological behavior, children with autism often have obvious, and I mean real obvious, gastrointestinal symptoms. I mean, there's no question whatsoever. And once they can control that gut bacteria, like Marguerite's son had a terrible autism, and she was just by supplementing him with probiotics and some other things, he now, and when I first started with it, I said, what is poop like? Disaster. Well, now, I just talked to her the other day. This is going on 3-4 years now. She says it's a perfect sausage every day. And that's and he's back to almost fully functioning. You know, once they're damaged with the autism spectrum, I don't think they're ever really going to get back to 100% until possibly you give them enough good probiotics in their body, because I don't know how, you know, supplementing them seems to help, but it's not like having them be inside of you like these fecal matter transplants do. Somehow they engraft into you, and then that's it, you're done. It's safe, effective, and permanent is what they say. Now, when you get older, your bacteria gets weak, and I don't see any reason why that shouldn't be. People get, you know, even Alzheimer's is, wow, let me show you something. Okay, this is government again, National Library of Medicine, fecal matter transplant, is it safe? The FMT is accepted procedure for C. difficile, which we know now, and it has been approved, so it's an approved treatment, and it's tolerated, safe, well tolerated, even in high-risk patients. All right, sometimes you get a little bloating and gas and so forth until this bacteria settles in. But even for high-risk patients, and now they say for children as well. Children are the ones that really need it the most. They should be studying what a real healthy young kid's poop looks like and what these autism kids are. They have terrible, terrible digestion. They don't go for a week sometimes. They have constipation. Other ones just have diarrhea. They have all kinds of problems with their gut stuff. It's just a mess. And they say, oh, well, the autism causes these gut issues. No, it's the other way around. We found that even heavy supplementation with probiotics had a beneficial effect, it appeared. In the research, it shows. And then they did fecal matter transplants for autism, and they showed, yes, even after 2 years, it was still effective. So, you know, if you have kids with autism or anything, developmental issues, that is related to chemistry. And I don't see why, if they can use off-label prescriptions for Ozempic and things that are just weight loss drugs, why they can't have this when we know they're safe, we know they're effective for certain things. I say they're effective for probably everything according to the chemistry. So if you don't have the right species of bacteria, you can't get the chemistry, which is the enzyme. If the enzyme's not there, the process of catalyst activity where things break down just like that, instantly hundreds of thousands of molecules, boom, they just break apart instantly. And they say that would not happen for years if it wasn't for these catalysts. And the only way you get the catalyst is because it's an enzyme created by the bacteria. So if you don't have the bacteria, none of that stuff is going to happen. Simple as that. So I don't see why there's any reason this should not be like an on request, you know, prescription. Here's another one, National Institute of Health. Right here, fecal matter transplant in Alzheimer's disease. Neurodegenerative disease, just like autism and so forth, starts slowly and worsens progressively because the bacteria gets weaker and weaker, is leading cause of dementia worldwide. Recent studies link the brain with the gut, its microbiota, through the microbrain-gut axis. The same exact story over and over and over. If you don't have the chemistry, you get shorts in your nervous system. All of these things have little membranes that surround them, that isolate them from everything else. That's a possibility that these membranes are breaking down, because a membrane protects an organ from the rest of the world. When that membrane goes bad, that's when you get invasions called cancer. And that's what's going on here, is you're being invaded by these neurological fabrics that coat these pathways. Now, I was just watching, I'm going to bring up something about Paul Simon, who was the guitarist, he's a singer, Paul Simon. And it was from Simon and Garfunkel. And he's now, I guess he's 81, and he's losing his hearing. Now, that's another pathway, and he's only, I guess it's quite bad. The same thing that happens with Alzheimer's and autism and shaky and everything is because you're getting invasion of these pathways. And I would think that, who knows? Nobody's ever tried it for any of these things. They're just starting now to realize Alzheimer's, yes. Autism, yes. Cancer, yes. Hold on a second. All right, this is about cancer management. After they realized the remarkable clinical efficacy against C. difficile, and they realized that all of these people have gut issues, lately interest is growing in therapeutic FMT for other diseases, including cancers. And this goes back to 2018. So, 2018, 2019. So we're 4 years back. Now, the research has progressed now, and they found, yes, it is very beneficial to a number of cancers, and probably all cancers, if they were to do the research on it. But the research has been slow. The funding has been minimal, and the progress has been glacial. So now we have an off-brand use that, they do it, they allow it for Ozempic, so I don't see why they shouldn't allow it for this. And, all they are, this is safe, well-tolerated, even in children and the severely immunocompromised. This is what brings them back from those conditions. You see, this is one of the most deadly cancers you can get. An advanced metastatic melanoma, fecal microbiota transplant from healthy donors in advance of this other PD-1 immunotherapy gave a 75% clinical benefit, defined as complete response, partial response, or stable disease, lasted over 6 months or longer. That's melanoma is the worst. Okay, here's some more ammunition for you. This was just basically discovered in 2018, and I'm going to tell you right now, very few doctors know anything about this. This right here is that fluid-filled highway that I talk about. Underneath this dark layer is where all the immune cells, well, not all of them, but this is where your bacteria resides in these little cavities here. There's little holes in there. I don't know if you can see them or not. Let me snug right up there close. You see those little balls right there? Those are actually fluid-filled bags. All right, and they're filled with bacteria primarily, and biological time bombs. Their bacteria create enzymes. Those enzymes go right in here and right through there as a fluid-filled highway, and I mean they move like a rocket ship. And I can actually show you them moving. They are fast. The bacteria that are in here most of them have flagellas, and those are like little propellers, a flagella propeller. Now, what happens? They go and they go to wherever they're needed, and they know where they're needed because of the chemistry and the signals that are given off by magnetism. It's literally magnetism. When I show you what a enzyme is, it's like this. It's something gigantic like that with a bazillion little magnetic particles. And if it finds the other thing that knows every one of these little magnetic spots, and maybe not every one, but enough of them that it can know that that is an invader, it goes bang, poof, they all die. And there might be 100,000 of them attached. All it's got to do is hit one of them. One single enzyme hits one of the invaders that has 100,000 guys attached to them in a tumor. Bang, they all die. That's how click chemistry works. That's what an enzyme does. It does chemistry so fast, it's just beyond the belief in the human mind. Now, I'm going to show you this actually happened. Now, don't forget, this is a new organ. Your doctors may not know about this. There's no reason to rub it in anybody's face. Just say, well, this is something new. It takes a little while for people to understand it. You don't have to say a word about it. Just say, here's what it is. And there's no reason you shouldn't be able to at least engage with a discussion with your doctor about this. Now that we know that off-label use is allowed, they're doing it for Ozempic. I know I keep saying this over and over again, but if you can do it for weight loss, I think you could do it for life save. I mean, it's just slaughtered with these things about these fecal matter transplants, promotes response in all kinds of different things. In immunotherapy resistant, where they're giving you drugs over and over, you're not responding. You can't respond until you have the chemistry. Let's look at the chemistry. Okay, bacteria create enzymes. Bacterial enzymes are responsible for degrading other proteins, which are these big long chains of little polypeptides. They break them down, and then you can use them. Otherwise, you can't use them. And also, they break down these proteins that are in the bodies of creatures that are invading you. This is what they do, bacterial enzymes. And they say there's about 1,000 of them. They just discovered 30,000 the other day. They say now there could be 100,000 or more. And I'm sure there's at least that. Because every one of them creates an enzyme. They're the factories. All right, this makes it about as simple as you can make it. These people are in the business of creating clean water by removing chemicals using bacteria and enzymes. Now, what are bacteria, enzymes, and chemicals? Well, bacteria are living cells, I'm going to show you, which have the capability of consuming waste. They eat the wastes. They can reproduce by themselves, and they actually produce enzymes. Better said, bacteria are the factories. They are the factories that produce enzymes. If you don't have the bacteria, you don't get the enzyme. Simple as that. I'm not going to drag you through all the details, but enzymes, which I just showed you, they're saying enzymes are known to catalyze. That means do all that stuff. Thousands and thousands and thousands of molecules change instantly in less than a second. Enzymes are known to catalyze more than 5,000 biochemical reaction types. So not only do they do this fabulous chemistry, but they do it to at least 5,000 different molecules that they know of. Now, what is the chemistry? What does it look like? And what is the activation of it? Well, let me show you exactly what it looks like and exactly where they come from, and they come from bacteria. The bacteria are the factories. All right, now you see this? This is a bacteria. That's a single cell. That puppy is tiny. You see these ribosomes? That's like a ball of polypeptides. Now I'm going to show you what happens. They have their own DNA, and the DNA is programmed to make these exact molecules, which are the enzymes. But they originally come out as ribosomes. I'm going to show you in a second. The flagellum is the thing that and it shoots them all through everywhere. Now these can consume waste, and some of them, and other ones spit out enzymes. Now let's see what the enzyme looks like after it spits out as a ribosome. All right, follow me through on this. This is the ribosome. It comes out, there's a sheath around it. They call it a capsid. It surrounds it. The sheath peels off, and then these things start to come loose and all come around and attach to each other wherever they're magnetically attracted to, and then they lock in as a protein. Are enzymes proteins? Well, yes. They're just in a little bit different phase of the chemical reaction, that's all. It's the same thing. You see this? That's that ribosome I talked about. What happens is they shoot out all of these little things, and these get all wrapped up into that capsid. And then when it unsheathes, that's when you get all the stuff. And this, mes amis, is after this thing had all balled up into its form. Now it is an enzyme. That's an enzyme and a catalyst. They don't happen by accident. And there's, like I said, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of enzymes because there's thousands and thousands of bacteria if you have good gut bacteria. That's why if they give you from like a 4 or 5 donor pill, you're going to get a lot of variety. Sometimes they have to get, before when they were given from one donor, they sometimes had to do it 2, 3, 4 times before the guy got enough of variety from different sources. But now they're doing 4 or 5 in one pill, and apparently it works very, very effectively. But if you don't have this precise chemistry, it's not going to do its job. If this little thing over here is just in the wrong place, or that one there, it won't work. This is what's called click chemistry. It comes up and it finds something that attaches to exactly these same things, and it goes, pew, and it's like electrocution of all of that stuff, and it just snaps them and they break apart and they fall apart into their little pieces so you can digest them, or it kills them and they die. And then you send another bacteria over there to eat them up and take them down to the lymph nodes. And then the lymph nodes will have its own bacteria to deal with the dead stuff that's coming to it. And then it processes it down to another lower grade, and then out it goes. Okay, remember I showed you that layer right here in the interstitium that was newly found, and up above there was all the stuff, and I said there's a fluid-filled highway. Basically, it's right in this area. This is cancer invading. It has to break through several layers of membrane until it gets down to this layer. This is your last line of defense. If you don't have the guys in here to fight back, once it's into your organ supplies it with all, because there's no real big nutrients in here, but this needs nutrients to grow. And once it gets in here and all the roots get down in there, forget about it, it's all over. That thing just goes, whoosh. Let me show you something. I can't guarantee it's exactly true, but it could very well be exactly what cancer looks like. This is just sort of a generic rendition of how it breaks through this layer. But that's your protective layer right there. The rest there's not enough nutrition for this thing to live off of, in my mind. It has to get down in here where all your real good blood is. Now, this is probably an artist's rendition, but it's not far off. These are basically like roots of a tree. And they're trying to invade whatever tissue it is that is not fighting back. If you don't have the correct bacteria living right in underneath here to send signals off to break that down before it gets a good foothold in, then you're in trouble. Once it gets a good foothold in, you better have some serious response to this, which means you have to have some very, very good bacteria creating enzymes in copious quantities to attack that thing, because that thing there looks like it's pretty well attached. And that's what cancer is. It's a tumor growing into this stuff here. It's like roots of a tree. It gets down into where you got a ton of good food to just keep growing. That's what a tumor is. Like a guy down the street from me just had one 12 pounds taken out of his gut somewhere, I think. And that's not, I think, all that uncommon if they don't get checked out every now and then. And anyway, this is what invasion looks like. I'm pretty close. Like I said, it's probably an artist's rendition, but I don't see it being that far off. All right, this is a good one to watch. Your textbooks are wrong. This is what cells actually look like. Again, this is just all brand new stuff. This goes back a couple of years to after they discovered the interstitium. Now listen to this.
Something I will never forget. The hair on my hands just stood up. It's a microscopic universe within each cell.
This is an unprecedented view of the cellular world.
Let me make this right now. Remember I showed you that layer that had I focused right in on. These are those little compartments. That's where the bacteria and the enzymes live. This is the fluid-filled highway. This thing here is going to come around here and scoop up whatever it does. I don't know what's it scooping up, but it looks like to me like these are all little bacteria living there. It's grabbing a whole batch of them, taking them out to go deliver them somewhere. Watch what happens. Let me come back here a little bit. All right, don't forget, this is when you're just seeing the immune cells, and that whole layer in there is your immunothelium, you could call it. There's layers, and this would be your immunothelium. It's your immune system. Watch.
This is an unprecedented view of the cellular world. where we can actually see immune cells scooping up sugars in the ear of a zebrafish in real time.
Focusing only on the crawling immune cells, we've noticed two classes of them.
Did you hear what he said? Two classes of immune cells. And he's going to say one of them just goes around sniffing for the magnetic signature of an invader, all right, or food or whatever it is. And that's this guy right here. Watch over here. All right.
One seems not hungry at all,
It's that
but
guy
is
right there.
very active in terms of trying to...
You see it? It's this thing here. They're just snaking around here until they find somebody, and then they say, "Whoa, this is a bad guy." They don't eat anything. They don't kill anything, apparently. They go back and tell the other guys, "Hey, get a bunch of stuff, bring it out over here. There's a guy over here who wants to kill us."
figure out, what the environment is. There's another one that was kind of slouching around with a lot of food in its belly. We can actually conceptualize and visualize and analyze the contents of each of these cellular compartments in this crawling immune cell as it's kind of, scooping up its environment.
The point is, these are your immune cells. The bacteria and enzymes live in there. Now, I would say probably the bacteria live in there, and when they're needed, they squirt out the enzymes. I don't know that for a fact. They could be enzymes that this thing was picking up, all those little blue things, but I don't know. One of them was scooting around. That, I would say, was a bacteria. Is it a harvester of bacteria that goes and harvests all the other little tiny bacteria? There's thousands and thousands and thousands of species. Some of them are huge, some of them are little. But they're still single cell. And they still have a certain job to do. Some of them go out and eat up all the garbage that's in your body and then carry it over to the lymph nodes and drop it off. Some of them attack food, some of them attack invaders. I think I've been pretty clear about what they do. And this is where they live. Okay, my friends, I have some very, very good news, I think. It's called off-label prescriptions. Now, Ozempic is approved for type 2 diabetes, but some doctors are prescribing the medication for weight loss, and it does work for weight loss. It is permissible by the FDA. The doctors can prescribe things that are off-label. In other words, they're not meant for that purpose specifically. But if the doctor thinks it'll make sense for this patient, they can write them a prescription for it. And that's what I'm talking about for fetal microbiota transplants. Now, is there any safety with this Ozempic? What's the safety on this compared to fecal matter transplants? This is strictly for losing weight, but fecal matter transplant is for saving your life, basically, or taking and treating autism and things like that. Will it help? We don't know. We can try. And now you have the ability to ask for this treatment as an off-label treatment, a fecal matter transplant. It's been approved by the FDA for C. difficile. So it's been approved. That's the bottom line. Once it's approved, they can prescribe it for anything it makes sense of. And I will show you it makes sense for virtually all the things that are invasive chronic illness, immunosuppressant, all of that stuff, that it just never goes away. That's the key. You need new enzymes and bacteria, and that's what a fecal matter transplant does. And it's safe and effective even for the most sick or the kids. I'll show you all this. So if they're allowing it for Ozempic off-label, they should allow it for a fecal matter transplant, because it's shown to have extremely good possibilities. Now, what does Ozempic do to you using the off-brand? Let's see what the side effects are. Okay, my friends, this is what you get from Ozempic, and it's nausea, stomach pain, constipation, diarrhea, vomiting. These are the most common side effects. Well, you may get a little of that with a fecal matter transplant because you're completely changing your gut bacteria. So there's going to be some kind of effect in your stomach region for a few days, but that should go away certainly within a week. And then you should be starting to pump in the good bacteria, the good enzymes. So actually, they claim that within 24 to 48 hours, normally everything goes back to normal, and you're now being serviced with the correct bacteria and enzymes. It's that fast. I mean, they work just like that. So that's what they say. That's what the research indicates. Now, let's take it one step at a time, because I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of things that I believe this fecal matter transplant could apply to, such as autism, cancer, Alzheimer's, all your irritable bowel syndromes. Obviously C. diff, it's approved for that. But there's a whole plethora of things now that they have been looking into that all appear to be helpful. Cancer, right down the line. But they haven't done the research. Nobody's ever looked into this specifically for these exact different diseases. But all diseases, in my mind, are caused by these non-regulation of enzymes. If you don't have the bacteria, you don't have the enzyme. If you don't have the enzyme, that's the chemistry. No chemistry, whatever it was supposed to do doesn't happen. You don't digest, you don't kill your invaders, you don't create good membranes and so forth. They do all of those things, and they remove the trash. So I'm going to show you in pretty good detail, and hopefully we can make some of the doctors pay attention to this and allow you to have this. I mean, you're the patient. You should be able to say, this is what I like, and please provide it for me. Now, you may have to jump through some hoops and try to figure out how to get this done, but I'm going to tell you what, if you have an autistic kid or something, there's no hoop too high that I would jump through. I got to tell you the truth. It's I've been working with autistic families. I just trying to get research from them. What helps? What doesn't help? What is the common thread? The common thread is they all have gastrointestinal issues, virtually 100%. And once that's cleared up, it has a dramatic effect on their behaviors and everything else. Once you're pooping correctly, that means your digestive system is doing its job. There's no nastiness, there's no constipation, there's no diarrhea. As Marguerite's son, who is now in very good condition since having the most severe autism, she said to me the other day, it's a perfect sausage every time. And he's doing fabulous. She's thrilled. Her life has changed. Their family, everything in their life has changed because her son has probiotics in his body now. If he had a fecal matter transplant, it might be better. I don't know. But this was all from probiotics, and this happened within a couple of months of supplementing him with this stuff. It takes effect pretty quick. But it's tough to get the kids to take them. She had to actually give the probiotics in a powdered form in ice cream. And then she went to Harvard to study the ribosomes and all of the different chemistry of the gut. And she's now starting a charity sort of thing over in Ireland, Northern Ireland, Belfast, because over there it's 1 in 22 kids. 1 in 22 have autism. Over here now, I just heard there's 1 in 36 in the United States. It's a plague, and they're not getting the bacteria they need to create the chemistry they need to protect themselves against invasion and their nerves shorting out, all of those things. And as you age, it gets worse and worse. So fecal matter transplant, I'm saying as something that we should at least investigate. I'm not telling you to take anything, not take anything. This is research only. And it's new research based on the fact of interstitium, the fluid-filled highway they just discovered only a few years ago. This is new research. This is new stuff, and it's research. All right? Stick with me. Let's see what we can figure out.